Let's get started. Today is February 23rd. This is the North Hudson Public Works monthly meeting. First item on the agenda is call to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Standifer?
Here.
Chairman Head?
Here.
Trustee Pike?
Here.
Item number 2 is approve minutes from the January 19th, 2016 Public Works meeting. Have a
So moved.
So moved. Any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing none. Item number 3, 2015 capital project, Lakeview Drive, Pine Street, East Bank Court, Lemon Street project. We have 2 items here, so we have an update on that particular project. And then we've got a 3B, which is 709 Riverside Drive drainage issue and possible discussion recommendations. So I'll turn it over to Kevin.
All right, thank you. So the project update, the only thing I really wanted to bring up is we have all the as-built drawings completed. Actually, we have those sitting right here. So we'll be turning over those to Mark today. So that portion of it will be all completed. Other than that,
Are we paid up or are we still holding back?
yeah, we have,
Was it 10%?
it was
Down to $5,
$5,000. Yep, so,
A little bit of landscaping on the side, isn't that all it is?
yeah, that's some of that stuff this spring we'll finish
Yeah.
up, definitely. So I guess it just kind of leads into the second, item that we've been discussing here is, the Riverside Drive, Lakeview Drive, the drainage concern that's been brought up.
Yep.
We talked about that at the last, Public Works meeting. We had some ideas. And that's, the exhibit that we were looking at before. Just to kind of get everybody up to speed again. So, at that time, we were looking at, making this area where the riprap is right now, making that kind of in a depression area, and then looking at, down to this lower area, putting some more riprap in there, try to do some, some bank stabilization, and then putting a manhole in the bottom of that depression area with an open end, and then with wash stone on the underside of it, just to try to promote as much, infiltration as we possibly could. After that particular meeting, David had, made contact with me and had some concerns. I think you talked to somebody in the real estate business and had some concerns with doing any improvements on, per se, his property, just for potential resale value. So one of the ideas that he wanted us to explore is trying to enlarge, where the riprap is currently, looking at, extending that to the east, about another 20 feet, try to make, a bigger depression area. Along with that, kind of an idea that we came up with is, along with the manhole that we would put in, actually put a kind of an under drain pipe also, try to get a bigger surface area to try again promote as much stormwater that we can into the underlying subsoils. And then on the south side, obviously we'd have to put some kind of a berm in there to create that depression area, and it'd be roughly about 2 feet is what we'd be looking at. Try to get that as much up as we possibly can before it would overflow down into where it naturally was before. I know David and I had talked here, last week about it, and I think he's on board with everything that's being proposed here. I went back to Total Excavating, based on this revised plan that we're looking at, try to get an idea of what the cost was going to be. This particular option, we were looking at around $3,400. With this one here, it's not going to be a lot of additional costs. They're thinking around $4,000. So,
Okay.
And again, based on the numbers that we have presented to this stage, it looks like we're going to be well under our budget. So there's definitely some room to do some additional work there. So.
And then, do you, from your professional opinion, is this going to fix it?
It's going to make it definitely better from what.
Are we going to be back?
It's gonna definitely make it better from what it was before. I mean, some of the, you know, the bigger rain of fall events, it's still gonna go up and over, but it's, you know, it's definitely gonna make it better than what it was before.
And the berm would be just dirt, grass?
Some, you
Is
know,
that the,
yep, some, you know, we bring in some, you know, dirt material and then overlay it with some riprap.
Yep.
And we would, you know, I'm sure, you know, when we do get into the construction stage of it, if the, you know, the committee members are on board with it, we definitely would have David
and that's on
involved.
village property?
Yep, it would be all within village property, and that's, right here, this dash line shows, you know, where kind of the village property and the property owner's line is right now. It's, technically, it's on the south side of that fence, but we have enough room to work
Yep.
in there and not
Okay.
have any disturbance with trees and stuff.
Daryl?
I just want to go back to something you said that I need a little more clarification on, because it's sort of a new stick above the water. I've not heard this one before. And that was the comment about the property value, conversation with realtors and property value.
Yes,
I need more clarity in what you're saying there. I think that it's pretty clear that we have a responsibility to individual property owners when we do a public works project to make our best effort not to reduce their property value. I think that's clear.
yep,
But I think it's equally clear that we have a fiduciary responsibility to all village taxpayers not to spend money to try and improve a property, an individual property value. So, I mean, I need to understand what you're saying in terms of the expenditures of dollars. Are we, is it the former or is it the latter? If it's the latter, then I think we've got a concern. If it's the former, I think we have a responsibility.
I think you have some input, because, you know, you would talk to your real estate person.
Do you see the
and-
question I'm asking?
Yeah.
I was
just-
gonna ask
yeah,
the same
but
thing.
I just need to understand
I
what it
want-
is we're talking about in
But
terms
the
of property
issue
value.
at hand is the village replaced the road that, you know, supposedly, no offense, created a drainage issue onto Mr. Sweeney's property that wasn't there prior to. So I don't look at it as increasing the value as much as, you know,
No, the project that we're talking about here,
yeah.
if we're being careful not to decrease his property value,
Yeah.
I think we have a responsibility
Right.
to an individual property owner to do
But how would
that.
you look at that as a increase in property?
That's why I
value?
want to hear what he's got to say, because if we would be spending village dollars
Well, come over and spend it
to,
on my
to,
property.
to improve a property value,
Yeah.
then I think we've got a
No,
problem.
I
And you
agree.
may not be saying that, I just need clarification, please.
It's still kind of struggling what, you know, the question.
If we
Just
if we
when you
spend any dollars at all, and I realize this is a small amount, but
Right.
I'm looking at the principle,
Yep,
is the reason that we would be doing it to make sure that we're not harming his value, or we're doing it to improve his value for future resale.
if anything, I think
You
we're-
said value and resale in your comment, and that caused me to get a little nervous.
if anything, I think we're, you know, making his property more valuable by addressing this concern up here.
So repeat,
We're not
repeat your statement again,
devaluating.
Daryl.
Well,
Repeat
now-
it
now-
ag-
now we
repeat it
just,
again.
now we just went to my concern. We're
No.
Can I
we're
ask a
spending
question?
money to make his property more valuable?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think I asked you this before, but you said we have clear evidence that that road was recreated to the exact same specs it was before, and that you could prove it on paper?
It was built back to what it was before. I mean,
So
we did add, you know, we did add this turnaround, this hammerhead.
Is that part of the reason that we have more water flow down that direction?
There's some additional runoff, you know, to what value of that is, it's pretty minimal. But, you know, you gotta look at the, you know, the whole road itself.
Mm-hmm.
That spot, I mean, we did not increase any additional runoff. We put the road back into what it was before, the
So
same
then,
width.
in your estimation, the runoff was there prior to the building of the road.
It was,
We've
yeah.
had, but as the resident has indicated, Mr. Sweeney feels that it's worse than it
Correct.
was prior.
Yep,
So herein lies the
yep.
rub. Have we created a problem? If the answer to that is yes, then we have an obligation to fix it. If we've not created an issue, then we don't have an obligation to fix it.
And that went to my question. It seemed like you were telling me we did not create the additional runoff.
You know, there's a little bit right here, but when you look at the whole picture, it's minor,
Okay.
whatever this surface area is. It's just, you know, since he brought up this concern, I think it was in November of last year. You know, we're just trying to come up with some ideas to maybe make it better than what it was before. With, you know, it's not a huge dollar amount that we're talking about.
But to Daryl's point, then you get, a head shows up, says, hey, you know, you guys are putting a bike path in here past my backyard, and
Yeah,
I've got runoff. I want you to, you know, plant $4,000 worth of trees or I don't.
yeah, yeah,
I think I understand where Daryl's going with it.
yeah.
Right. It's a slippery slope you don't want to get
And
onto.
I would add, Brian Pike would come and say, 4th Street is falling down in my yard. You gotta come over there and rip-rap that thing, and I came to you about that.
Yep.
We're likely
We've
to have
talked
this
about
issue,
that.
we're likely to have this issue with the retaining walls as well.
Yep.
So
Right.
I understand where you're going with it.
Yep, I can
Well, I'm
understand
not trying to
your
split
point.
hairs. I just want
Mhm.
to know what it is that we're proposing to do as far as value of property, not harm or increase. And there's a significant difference.
So you really think it would increase the value of the property? I mean, I
I
can't
mean,
answer
it's gonna
this.
make it,
I can't
I
answer
don't
this
know if it's
question.
really, yeah, I mean,
We should not be
That's kind of-
causing him harm. I think
Correct.
we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yep,
No question.
Yep.
So that ship has sailed.
yeah,
If what you're saying is if we do this, it increases his value for future resale, that's a head scratcher.
yeah, you know, it's probably neutral. Go ahead, David.
State your name, address, please.
Name is David Sweeney, 709 Riverside Drive. I just wanted to clarify a couple of points that were made. As far as the road going back to original specification, on this side, which is the west side of the road, there was considerable runoff of water into those properties, into the backs of those properties. And that was brought up to the city by those residents at the early meetings. And there were measures taken to mitigate that, I think,
With the project.
with the project.
Is that
There
true?
was a edge along that, I mean, Mark can speak to that too, there was a edge of material where the water, the majority of it was still coming down to
Okay.
this particular spot.
So there is some additional water. I can't quantify how much. And the other thing regarding the property value, the discussion I had with a colleague, not a colleague, a friend of mine in the real estate business is to the effect that if you have the city come and do work on your property, which was one of the options we were looking at,
Yeah.
it's an admission that there's a problem, that there's a drainage issue. And if it's visible that the city have done work there, it could be a detraction from the value of the property. Far from increasing the value of the property, it could decrease it. So that was the point that was brought to me. I can't envisage why doing this would increase my property value.
That's kind of a judgment call.
It would increase it if we fix a water flow problem that has always been there. And if he's saying that the road didn't change the pitch and the water flow has been the same, then by us stopping the water flow would add an increase.
Yeah, but none of us went down there to look at it prior to see the difference before and after.
If it was a well-known,
You could see.
Problem.
I mean, there was erosion going.
No,
Right.
agreed. Right, but the main issue at hand is we did something that affected a change that's now creating an issue for Mr. Sweeney. I personally didn't go down there and look before and after a rain event. So I can't sit here and say he's right or he's wrong, other than he's come to the board for what's perceived to be a complaint, right? And I'm not reading your mind, but I fully suspect if we don't fix it in some form or fashion, there's likely to be a lawsuit either from Mr. Sweeney himself or from his insurance company. So we gotta look at it from and I get what you're saying, Daryl. I completely understand, if we're improving property value, we are not in the business of doing that by any stretch of the imagination. But, I think there's gonna be a recommendation tonight, which we're gonna have to, because it's a money matter, we're all gonna have to vote on, but
Okay, I've got
rock in a
enough.
hard spot,
Yeah.
really.
I don't need any more on this on
Yeah,
the issue. Yeah,
I mean, you can look at it both ways,
yeah.
yeah.
We've got a problem that we're trying to figure out what to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely make it better than what it was. It's, an improvement. Any other questions?
No, I just hoping someday this project goes away.
Yeah, it's been a long one. I definitely agree. With all the different
I'm glad we
pieces.
came in under budget.
Yeah, I mean, there's, the costs that we're talking about
Not
here.
that I think we should be throwing money at non-issues, but,
Yeah.
so then,
To Mr. Sweeney's point of work on private property, is everything that you're proposing there on village property?
It is. Yep. Actually, the village right away, it goes farther back over in this area, but where the dash line is represented, that's within that area is all village property.
so what about, I know there was some talk about the fence. Is that on village property or is that on Mr. Sweeney's?
It's, from what we've surveyed out, it is encroached into the village property. It's been like that for how many years?
Yeah.
We can work around it, so I don't see a need to actually tear it down for any reason, so.
This project started before I got here, so I've been listening as the year went on. Do you think we changed the water flow, since you're our public works supervisor?
Another thing, as Ted said, I was down on that street many times myself, but never down there to actually look at Mr. Sweeney's property, see how the runoff was as prior to us doing the project. So I really can't answer that we're putting more water down there or not.
How many years have you been there?
3 years.
I guess we could find out.
We'll spend more money trying to chase it down,
You can do 2 things. You can go down there now. He probably ought to be on the mic, so he's on the.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you could do 2 things, which would answer your question. You could go down that street tomorrow and look at the properties on the west side and look underneath their sheds where they have put built up wood and you can see the silt that's all collected there. And you can go and ask the residents, because I know for a fact that several of them had asked that edge of the road be lifted enough so that water wouldn't flow off into their properties.
Did we do that?
They did request to have a berm put in there. My thought is that there was actually a berm there before.
So did we,
can still go in there and we can, knock out little areas, so the water does go all that direction. But then are we gonna have those people?
4 more? So we did put a berm in.
There is a berm on.
So there is a potential that we created more water flow.
There was an edge there before on the edge of the asphalt.
It's all a matter of how much we,
Yep.
There's been an edge there. There's places where there's edge there, but there's places that over time probably allowed water to infiltrate into those properties. but there was definitely an edge.
Is it
Where the
sandy
hydrant
and loom
was
over
and
there, or
stuff
is
like
it?
It's all sandy material.
Yeah.
It's North Hudson.
Yeah, it might be close somewhere.
I mean, in the 20-some years that I've been in this business, I've never seen, you've kind of got a landlocked piece of property. You really don't have anywhere, to go with storm sewer. And that's why we had so many discussions at the start of the project that we didn't want to change the width of the road, put curb and gutter in, and all those things, because, we knew that was going to be something of contention.
So then we need a recommendation from the committee if we're gonna go forward with it.
Is there, since I'm new, is there a way because it almost seems like we're making an improvement here. We might be able to go back to the previous property owner to find out how much water used to come down there. That means more work. But is there a way for the
Why would the previous property owner admit to it? Then he didn't disclose the proper,
Oh, I'm not sure.
You know what I'm
We don't
saying?
know what was disclosed.
water
I mean,
is one of the main things you gotta disclose in a property
On the
sale.
lot?
Well, if there was an issue. I wouldn't, I don't know.
All I'm saying I was gonna ask, is there a way for this to be a joint effort between us and the property owner? I don't know how that works.
When I've been out there looking at the property, you could see that somebody had put some of that black fabric underneath some of the dirt material.
Mhm.
So that tells me that there's been a ongoing
Right.
issue for a number of
I remember
years.
that. Ted, is there a way? Is that
Well, I
something-
mean, it'd have to be in agreement with the property owner to pony up half of the 46 or $4,000 or whatever.
$1,000,
Yeah.
Well, we could wrestle with this for a long period
Yeah.
of time. I'm prepared to move on. The final decision is still going to be made at the village board.
Yep.
But I'm prepared, Mr. Chairman, to move that we recommend to the village board approval of the proposal as outlined in the attachment at a cost of not exceeding $4,000.
I will second. Since it's a spending, we need to vote. We'll start on this side.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It'll go to the board for a vote. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Item number, unless we have any more. Nothing else? Okay.
That should be it.
Item number 4, municipal garage lease purchase, discussion and possible recommendation. Mark, I think you've got a little bit of info on this.
Well, basically what this is on here for is just, I left it on just basically because, the board did not meet this last month.
Yep.
So basically your same, motion that you had going forward will still go forward with the board.
Yeah.
I just left it on here in case there was anything that you guys,
I think that's still where we're at.
Yeah.
We'll deal with it
Yeah.
in March.
I have one thought on this. Can we make sure when we're doing the apples to apples that she also gets what our ongoing maintenance costs would be in those numbers? Because if we buy them,
Yep.
obviously you're in charge of maintaining them, and do we know what those maintenance costs are gonna be?
They've been minor for us.
Right. That's
Anything
it.
else?
That's it.
Nope. Item number 5, winter parking ordinance, discussion and possible recommendation. Again, I think, Mark, this is back with you.
Yeah, basically, I again put this on here just because last month's, meeting minutes from last month said that, have it back on just for us to continue the discussion, so if there's anything that you guys heard.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but there was language drafted that was gonna go to the board for review. Is that correct?
That's the way I remember it.
Yeah. So,
I think,
not having met because of
right.
the snowstorm.
I think because the board didn't meet, we didn't get to
Yeah,
discuss that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Mark, just a question for anecdotal information, not having to do with where we're at, this is just information. What was our experience this winter with cars in the way of plowing?
Basically, we haven't had as many things, but we have certain streets that, yeah, we've had cars parked, we've had to go back, clean up after them, everything else. You know, one point I came out of the last meeting, you know, the chief apparently didn't think we were working on this tonight. But one thing he mentioned, everything else was about how Sergeant Bowles went out and counted cars and everything else, and 97 cars on Friday and 103 on Saturday. That kind of gave us an idea of, you know, how many cars were actually out there. And we gotta go around that many cars during the nighttime and then going back the next day cleaning up. It takes longer to plow the streets.
How many of those cars, and obviously this is going to be speculation, so I'm just trying to get a rough figure. How many of those cars were at single-family residences where they could have easily been off the street, and how many were at multifamily housing where it would be very difficult to get them off the street?
Alls I have the same information that the chief gave you. I have not actually got a breakdown from them where they were. I don't know if Mark did that or if Mark just did a random count.
He did
I
know.
will say I moved mine into because I live on the cul-de-sac, and I moved them down onto my driveway.
Well,
Just
see,
to get 'em out.
you can easily do that.
Yeah.
There are some places where you see cars on the street and you say, okay, what's their alternative?
Yep.
Where would it go if it couldn't sit here?
The chief did note that, given the 24-hour ordinance that's already in place, that there was a very small number, I can't remember what he said, that had not moved within 24 hours. But it didn't mean that they didn't have to go back and do those 103 cars that were out there.
Yeah. You're always going to have a percentage that can't move because they don't have option. It's that other 95% that have the option.
Did the wording have an exception for people that don't have off-street? They could apply for an exception, right, in that ordinance?
And ours,
I think they could apply for an exception if they were somebody that did not have.
in the city of Hudson, that is truly yes, the case.
Oh, trust me, we'll be here this time next year discussing the same damn thing.
Yeah, good luck with that, guys.
Thanks, Daryl.
Maybe I'll.
Okay, that's enough. I just was interested
Yeah.
in what actually
This one
happened
does
this winter.
not.
We should probably add that one.
We'll be around for a while.
Yeah, this one's coming back.
I'm gonna try to throw ATVs and snowmobiles in there too. All right,
Actually, as
item,
far as this, there was no, yeah, all it has here in your minutes is you tabled it this time, and you basically, motion by Standiford ahead to recommend postponing a recommendation on the winter parking ordinance until next meeting, Public Works Committee. So there was nothing that went to board level.
Oh,
so we don't have any proposed language?
What we have is the draft what I gave you guys at the meeting, but according to the minutes of last month's meeting, you guys did not forward
Okay,
it to the
so
board.
then let's send that back out to the committee, if you wouldn't mind, via email. Let's just have a look at it. If it doesn't get on the March agenda,
well,
At this
we already knew that it was never going to
Right.
be implemented this year anyway.
at this
Right.
point, we're on the backside of winter, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, the only thing is if we're gonna do something, we gotta make sure we have time to
Yep.
get signs and everything else up before
Right.
next winter.
Right,
Yep.
right, right.
Yep.
So we
And
gotta get,
also education, because you're gonna have to have public hearing, you're gonna have to have everything else
Right.
on this.
So back to us.
we gotta get the language hammered out
Yeah,
still,
let's
right?
have a look at it, and then probably April, we'll send it back to the full board
Okay.
after our April meeting. Item number 6, engineers report.
The only thing I wanted to introduce Ryan Jones. He's from
Hello,
our
Ryan.
office. He was at our public informational meeting for this particular project. He'll be sitting in every so often, just kind of just
Okay.
showing the ropes, see how things are done. So-
You taking over for him?
My question is, we're not paying extra for you, are we?
No, you don't pay. I'm sure you're aware, we don't charge for any night meetings, so
Anything else?
that is it.
Director's report.
Well, actually, everything I have is pretty much gonna be as future agenda items for the next meeting.
So I want to discuss a little bit about the open position. So what's the status of that, and why are we not filling it?
Currently, right now, we're still waiting for applications. The application deadline is 4 o'clock this Thursday.
Okay, so it closes Thursday, and we've had apps in for it,
Yes.
or are you driving everybody away? We have apps in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
I don't know how
Thursday,
many the clerk's office is actually taking care of
so
that.
then Thursday closes.
Yep.
And then we go back through the review process, see what we got.
Background checks.
Yep. How long has this been open now?
Well, Bob's last day was February 1st.
Okay.
But we advertised just last week,
Yes,
didn't
we
we?
advertised last week,
In the
this
paper.
week and last week.
Yeah,
That's the
Okay.
only time we could get them in the paper.
right.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're,
Yep, moving on.
for your sake,
All right.
that we're moving on it.
Yep.
Anything else?
Not as far as director's report, no.
Okay. Future agenda items?
We got basically 3 additional items that'll be on next month. As part of the, we had a sanitary survey done in the village by Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. They checked both us and the city. One thing that really came up to them was, well, 2 things. And one we took care of, they wanted directional flushing of all of our water mains, which we completed actually finished up in November. They also wanted all dead ends to be able to be flushed and maintained, any place where you have a dead end water main. Basically, we took care of one of those with the project down that we did at
Car shops.
Huh?
Car
At East
shops
Bank,
took-
yeah,
took one.
car shops, we did that a couple years ago. That didn't make the list because it was already done. But then we had the East Bank ones were completed this year. We put a hydrant at the end of that pipe so that can now be flushed. The other one that came across was the water main that ran across Merrill Apartments. That is now a private water main, so it's no longer a village issue. DNR knows about that. The only one we have left is there's that 2-inch water main that runs on the west side of Highway 35 from Summer Street going up to the Village Inn. That is a dead-end main. There's no way to flush it because it's too small. But there is that 6-inch that runs from the east side of 6th Street back to the Village Garage, and that is a fire hydrant at the end of it. So what I've talked with the water utility about and everything else, and also I've met with Gary Zappa. Basically, we believe we can disconnect that 2-inch to that 6-inch. And the only thing we'd have to do is we would have to change the water service for the Village Inn. Would also have to be connected to that 6-inch. So that's something we're gonna be trying to get some numbers for you and stuff like that. And
How many residents are still on private systems?
in the village,
Yeah.
we used to have some down on Galahad Road, and there's some in all of St. Croix Station, or a majority of St. Croix Station.
I think there's one or 2 over on Cratley too.
That are on private? Well, yeah, the ones that just got brought in, the ones that are,
Yeah. Who's
east of
responsible?
your side.
Are the homeowners are responsible for that, or are there state regulations that they have to abide by?
Right now, there is some ordinances being worked on between the water utility and the village. They're looking at to have some changes done to some of the thing.
Yeah.
Right now, the way all their things lead, as long as people have a well and septic, and there is no water and sewer municipal services in front of them, they can stay on their wells and septics.
Yeah.
If there is access to them, they can be required to hook up. This time, we do not do that.
And does access for the village run up to the end of the Cratley borderline up there, so it'd be a backside of the?
It goes to the Cratley lift station. It's right up there, just past. So everybody that's in the village, that's been incorporated in the village on Cratley, does
Yeah.
have access to municipal water and sewer.
Okay. So can we just go back to, is it allowable to go back to item number 6 for a minute? Or number 7? I guess I can do whatever I want to.
I guess you can, although I was just going to say if that conversation had gone on much longer, I would say,
You're
say
gonna go?
it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it ain't on the agenda, so we can't go too far into this. You know.
So I just want to go back, Mark, to director's report and inquire about, so, beginning of the winter, we bought that piece of equipment from from Hudson.
Yep.
For, I forget the name of it.
This is the pre-wet system?
Yeah,
Oh, the brine thing?
yeah, the
Yeah.
brine thing's what I call it as well.
That's what I call it.
So, has that been installed and used at all?
It's been installed on the truck and everything else, as far as the main part of that system is in the back of the, 01, F-350 we have. As far as we do not have the, reel system hooked up, so it can actually be used to spray sidewalks and stuff like that. As far as we've actually used it, I'm gonna say no, just because with the changeover and stuff in personnel we've had and
Right.
stuff, we just.
I just want to make sure that
Well,
we
the system
paid
would-
for it, that we're going to utilize
Oh, it's gonna be
it.
used.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just, right now, until I get some guys up
No, I
and
get it.
get a little more training done on the thing and stuff like that, and actually get it out, there's some adjustments we'll make, because, well, we've been told by, the city of Hudson, the mechanic that actually installed the controls and the thing, he's afraid the arm might be too low for where we got it, he thinks the arm might have to be, the back spray arm
Okay.
might have to be
I
raised.
just want to make sure that we spent
Oh, no.
the money to
No,
do
it's-
it, safety and
Plus,
stuff.
it's taking up
Make sure-
room in my garage,
Yeah.
we gotta keep it heated,
Okay.
so I'm not gonna leave it sit there, I'm not gonna use it.
All right. Any other future agenda items?
Yes, we also got the, a letter was received by the village clerk from the two residents regarding their retaining wall that collapsed down and get Riverside Drive. The village president asked to have it go to the March Public Works agenda, so that will be on there. You guys will get copies of the letter. And then the other thing we have, we'll have the street sweeping contract.
Yep. Okay. Anything from you? No. All right. Item number 9, adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. And see you, I guess, next Tuesday.